where we infuse pop culture with current issues. It's more like hanging out at the mama, just that this time it's in front of a camera. Now for today's session, my name is Terence, and on my panel today we have Myra Beatty and Albert Kamalendra. Now let's start off with something light. Let's start off with Star Wars The Force Awakens. So yeah, the other interesting part is that this Star Wars is being directed by J.J. Abrams.
That's the guy who does Star Trek, right?
Yeah, the reboot of Star Trek, the 2009 Star Trek, which had an excess of lens flares and annoying camera flares that I hope he does not bring into the Star Wars universe.
I like Star Trek. I like what they did with Star Trek.
The 2009 Star Trek?
Yeah.
I will trust your opinion of it. The only reason why I watched the movie was because Cumberbatch took his shirt off.
Cumberbatch. But it's kind of weird because you were referring to Wrath of Khan, right? So, okay, probably they didn't call it Wrath of Khan in the second movie. They call it Into Darkness, Star Trek Into Darkness. But it was based on the original Wrath of Khan. The thing is, the guy that you're referring to, Khan, is supposed to be Singh, if you want to know the backstory of it. But they got Benedict Cumberbatch to act as that guy.
Oh well, typical Hollywood whitewashing.
Yeah, probably J.J. Abrams was trying to, how to say, it's like his form of repentance by putting two black characters in the new Star Wars instead. Which character do you hate?
I got this one. Jabba the Hutt. Okay, something about the dude just disgusts me. I mean, he's sitting over there with the women surrounded him in chains. You know, like drooling everywhere.
That sounds a bit like fat shaming to an extent.
Well, speaking of fat slugs surrounded by women, Donald Trump.
What are you implying about Ivanka Trump with that? Okay, but yeah, interesting thing about Donald Trump here. So see, 2016 isn't that long of a wait, and he's actually running for president. I'm not so sure if you heard of it. So the interesting part here is that Donald Trump has been topping the Republican polls. In fact, he's been leading Rand Paul and Jeb Bush within this. Let's talk a bit more about the presidential race. Who do you think is going to go up against each other from the Democratic side and the Republican side?
I think there's a sense of inevitability with Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
she's probably got a lot of sponsors and she's raising a lot of money. But interesting though, recently Jeb Bush has outraised in terms of funding. She's managed to raise a lot more funds than Hillary Clinton has. So I think probably my money's on Jeb Bush for the Republican ticket.
I don't know, I agree that I think Hillary Clinton should be elected. I mean, it's about time that America had like a female president.
Well, we just had a black president. It makes sense for us now to have a female president.
But on the Republican side, you have Carly Fiorina, who is the ex-CEO of HP, which is like a good role model for girls too. I mean, though she might, I'm not so sure about what she stands about the Republican Party. I'm not actually a big fan of their policies, but I think she's a strong woman that some people might look up to, and she's a good role model for girls.
Well, I don't think she does have enough support in the grassroots.
Or recognition.
Yeah, I don't think she's even going to make it to the Republican debates because opinion polls don't really measure up.
Yeah.
I think even Donald Trump is probably outdoing her right now.
Yeah, of course, because Donald Trump is leading the polls. I mean, he's higher than everyone else.
Which is by itself quite disturbing.
I feel sorry for Donald Trump's speechwriters. Those guys spend a lot of time putting some good ideas on paper, ideas you could probably use, but this is a guy who goes off the script all the time and makes just everyone on the Donald Trump ticket look bad. I think that's just sad. That is a shame.
I'm not sure if you actually have speechwriters. That's the scary part too. So let's go back to Malaysia a bit, because all these profanities and all these racist comments that Donald Trump has spoken of reminded me of this thing. How recently FINAS just released a statement on what words that you can use on television for multiple languages. They even have words for Tamil that you can't use, certain specific curse words from Mandarin or even Hakka to an extent. And it's as if FINAS doesn't understand the existence of the internet. So why do you think exactly that Malaysia is still so obsessed about censoring words rather than moving into a rating system, considering that parents can also take an active role in making sure what movies can their kids see, or what words can their kids actually listen on television.
Trouble with that is, how many times have you guys gone to like a PG-13 movie and seen like 5-year-olds? Like 5-year-olds are sitting and watching. Malaysia doesn't care about the implementation, the actual practical implementations of those rating systems. I mean, like, you can say PG. I mean, my first movie was Gladiator, like when I was 5.
If the government were to
I have to say though, there would be a really awkward conversation when the kid asks you, "Mommy, why did everyone have to die in that movie?"
Yeah.
No, I think that like even in like those movies, they have certain standards. Like they don't show blood. Like for example, I think there was I forgot which movie it was. Like it was throughout the whole movie, you can't even like notice one drop of blood. Was it?
Most PG-13 movies are.
No, I think usually Marvel, which I find kind of odd in the beginning, because you can see all the fighting, you can see all the stabbing, but somehow blood is like the line that you can't cross. Like
I think all societies have to draw that line somewhere. Probably the disconnect we feel right now with FINAS is that these are individuals who represent maybe values of a different era, and we're moving beyond that, and I think eventually those guys will catch up, but maybe this right now there's a gap.
I don't know, like if you were to depict certain characters, right, like if you were to like, okay, when you make a film, right, it's like you're supposed to paint a picture where, you know, it becomes believable. So like, for example, if you were to have like bad characters, for example, you know, characters that play bad roles, like their speech should also be believable. But when was the last time that you've ever met a kick-ass bad guy who doesn't swear?
But here's the weird thing, is that Malaysia draws the lines at movies. Like I remember watching Terminator Genesis recently. They mimicked the first Terminator scene in the beginning, and I remember one of the punks taking out a knife and screaming at Arnold Schwarzenegger using the F word, and it was fine. So if you're going to draw the line where kids also can watch things at movies, what's the difference when it comes to television then?
I suppose the answer to that question lies in the fact of the amount of control that FINAS has with regards to movies as opposed to the TV drama, the series. I think with movies, I think they are less likely to want to cut as many scenes as they could. But with regards to series, they have a lot more autonomy. They have a lot more autonomy to cut those scenes and, you know, reject them outright if they don't like what's being shown.
So, but this begs to another philosophical question to an extent. Why is violence more acceptable in comparison to swear words?
With regards to swear words, I think there's a implied sexual connotation, and that sometimes is a lot less acceptable than just, you know, wanton violence that you can just see on screen.
I think maybe because in our culture especially, we're desensitized to violence. Like we sort of accept violence to a certain extent. I mean, look at our history as well, right? You know, we are very proud of the fact that, you know, our country came out of a warrior race, I would say. You know, we have all our stories, our old hikayats that tell us about all these things, and even through time, you know, we are very desensitized. Like, you know, like movies like Marvel, of course, like, you know, 7, 8, 10-year-old boys will watch it, so they'll be desensitized to a certain extent to violence. But when it comes to words, like even in our society, I think integral, we to a certain extent, words represent ideas, and I think certain ideas or certain words are very sensitized in our society. Maybe.
So, like for most of us, we get fine with watching those movies, but there'll be one idiot in the crowd that would probably want to emulate those violent scenes or want to do something stupid. So these are regulations meant to protect society from the 1% of individuals who do stupid stuff. And
Yeah,
unfortunately, these are the people who ruin it for
I
us.
agree. Probably that's how society works to an extent, where we always have to follow the pace of the guy who probably
the lowest common denominator.
Lowest combinator.
Yeah.
Like speaking about archaic rules, let's talk about something that is also archaic. Jurassic World. I mean, okay, let's look at that.
Okay.
All right. Recently, Jurassic World practically surpassed Avatar as one of the biggest earning movies in terms of box office. But here's the most pressing question of our generation: do they actually deserve it? I mean, let's be honest, they don't actually put in anatomically correct dinosaurs into those kind of
No,
movies.
T-Rex are not supposed to have long arms. They're
No,
supposed to have short arms.
Yeah, I mean in the movies they were right on that.
No, they lengthen the arms actually. One
that's
thing, the T-Rex, right? The T-Rex, the composition of the T-Rex in the films, they actually lengthen the arms to make it look scarier. when actual T-Rexes, they have shorter arms.
Okay, probably description.
Scientifically, I mean.
But like as science progressed when it comes to paleontology, etc., what people found out is that dinosaurs apparently had feathers. So if the guys who ran Jurassic World wanted to be scientifically accurate, quote unquote, then they probably should have put dinosaurs in feathers. Probably it might suck, but at least we tell the world how dinosaurs actually looked like in the past. I mean, what's your opinion on that?
Well, there's a balance here, right? You want to create terrifying creatures, you don't want to create huge birds. So I think those were some creative differences that, or a creative license you probably have to.
What do you mean huge birds are not terrifying? Have you seen an ostrich before? I mean, like they chase you down and then with their long legs, they look scary. Somebody should put a picture of an ostrich in post-production to show you how scary ostriches are. I wouldn't look at ostrich eye to eye to an extent. So
I think teeth is scarier than feathers. You know, so I don't think ostrich would be scarier compared to, you know, a meaty, teethy dinosaur.
Yeah, and I enjoyed. To be honest, I enjoyed the last Jurassic World movie. I think there were some references to the older movies. I think that it was a movie that could have gone wrong in so many ways, and with the same with many reboots. But I think they got the basic stuff right, and it was a very entertaining pick.
Right. Speaking about science, I think they gave up totally on science when they suddenly had this hybrid dinosaur, apparently, where they combine the genes of two dinosaurs together and create a new one. It's like
They combine so many things, like a frog who could change color.
Yeah, that's my first
one
movie.
nod and hide their teeth.
You know, that reminds me, you know, they have like different, you know, they do that with animals, right? So it's like the same logic that applies to cows now applies to dinosaurs. Like, I find that logic interesting, that leap in logic.
Since we've been talking about the end of the world, and unfortunately, death would come upon us. But considering that, before we die, which world you'd rather live in? Would you rather live in a world with dinosaurs roaming the earth? Or would you rather live in a world where we fight in intergalactic wars like Star Wars or Star Trek? Or would you rather live in a world where Donald Trump is called President Donald Trump?
If you ask me, hands down, I want to be riding with the dinosaurs. I want to have a raptor pack behind me. I want to be leading that pack.
It'll be Chris Pratt.
Okay, to be honest, yeah, I want to be Chris Pratt. That's pretty much the world I want to live in.
Okay, so if the world ends and human race, you know, is about to get extinct, the only thing that I can wish is that may the force be with you.
Right. So people actually don't mind having like an almost working economy with Donald Trump. Probably, I don't know, he just wants to build the wall, give him the chance. Probably he's a huge fan of Pink Floyd. We don't need more immigration, something along those lines. But to the people out there, I just want to ask you, which world you'd rather live in? Would you rather live in a world with dinosaurs? Or live in intergalactic wars like Star Wars? Or would you rather live in a world with President Donald Trump? Now, follow us on Twitter, Greater Malaysia. Our Twitter handle is greater_MY, or like us on Facebook. And if you like this YouTube video, share it with your friends and answer the question with the hashtag Greater Malaysia. And that's it from Greater Malaysia's Show and Tell.